What's up, everybody? Happy Motor Stardom Tuesday. Welcome back to the Motor Stardom Show for the first time here in 2026, or should I say for the first time during the NASCAR season here in 2026. Excited to bring this episode to you. We'll be live here on the show for officially 2 hours, joined by a variety of guests, some in the media world, some in the racing world, all in the racing world. But it was a huge busy week at Daytona, a long week, as a lot of us can attest to. A lot of us in the industry can attest to. We were there for a long time. It all started on, technically, if you were at New Smyrna, started way earlier than the stuff at Daytona International Speedway started. But Speedweeks live on the grounds at the track all the way from, or I guess it's Speed Week now, but live on the grounds at the racetrack from Wednesday all the way until Sunday, technically Monday morning if you were at the celebratory breakfast as well. Tyler Reddick, Daytona 500 champion. We will have all of that talk for you here in just a few, but we're going to roll on and bring everybody in here one by one. We're going to start with the driver of the number 91 DGM Racing Chevrolet, Mason Maggio, home in Florida after a race at Daytona. Will be in Atlanta this weekend. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing a lot better now that it's a new week. Excited to hopefully rebound at Daytona from the craziness that we had on lap 0. So, but no, excited. I know we just announced actually I think 30 minutes ago on DGM's page that we have a new partner on with us this weekend with freerent.org invest with Roots. So excited to have them on board for Atlanta. Appreciate their support. If you want to find out more details, be sure to check out their website and check out the posts. And it's pretty cool. A nonprofit organization trying to help families in need that are just trying to make ends meet. And super excited to promote them this weekend, and looking forward to a fresh start, that's for sure, and being able to hopefully rebound and get a respectful finish for our 91 guys. Because man, we had a fast car last weekend, and I guarantee you we're going to have another good car this weekend. And just got to have a better result in the race.
Yeah, 100%. A better start for sure. We'll get into a tiny bit of detail about that here as we go along the show. Let's bring in former writer for CBS Sports and NASCAR, still covering it, still doing his things. Got a new adventure this year, and wanted him to be our first media co-host guest on the show. My buddy Steven Toronto, man. How you doing? You had a flight today.
Yeah, I did. You're getting me when I'm fresh off the boat from Orlando. It's I hope my apartment doesn't look too bad here. It's a war zone behind me on that desk. Because I've barely been in here in about 3 months. Because I left for Thanksgiving, went back home to New York, was there just helping for what's been a pretty rough winter until last Monday. Flew back to my place in Nashville, stayed there about 12 hours, went to the airport, went down to Orlando, drove up to Daytona, and then was just there all week until this morning, and had to hustle back to Orlando, and flew into Nashville about 3 hours ago. So, really haven't given myself much of a rest, and there's still work to be done, just going through all of the post-Daytona stuff, and a couple of things that I'm also looking to get done and completed by tomorrow, which does include something for a bit of a new project I've picked up on, but I will have those all released and out in time, and just really glad to be back at it. Really glad to be back, not only be back at it, but just exceeded 10,000 followers on X, almost there on Instagram as well. So just a very successful weekend, as much as I could ask for just as a media guy, really.
Exactly, man. Yeah, Daytona is the biggest week for us, the biggest week for a lot of people. Obviously, they look forward to kicking off the season in that regard, and that's why
Gibbs was actually asking us about that in his media session. He's like, man, I've had media days, I've had production days. Is this like your guys's? And he's like, yeah. If we're not like Bob Pockrass, if we're not like with broadcast, that Daytona 500 media day is kind of our kind of. It's like our preseason time to get as much as we can. It's I don't know Mason, I don't know how much of the O'Reilly Series Media Day stuff you've done, but it's a grind, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I've actually done a good bit myself. Did the media day for the O'Reilly Series, the CW, as well as for NASCAR back a couple weeks ago in late January. That was a long, long day for sure. And then obviously continuing that as we went into Daytona and everybody previewing, the season and obviously the hype around O'Reilly Auto Parts taking over for Xfinity. But yeah, no, it's definitely a busy couple weeks, really, between leading up to the races and then doing what we're doing now. So this week I can kind of finally calm down because this is the one week that I've actually been ahead on stuff, which is crazy. RJ knows because I tell him all the time. But yeah, no, it's craziness for everybody. As we got the one, the only, the pizza man, the other pizza man, the pizza delivery guy, and the guy that I will never forget always has that quote that says, "I'm going to put my foot on the floor until I see God or a checkered flag." Mr. Andy J, how
Dude,
are you, buddy?
I just saw somebody tweeted that
Yeah.
on X and it's like a video of somebody sledding in the Olympics or something. I didn't even see it, but it's got a ton of publicity, and it literally quotes dash Andy Jankowiak, and it's just somebody tweeting about the Olympics. So you're out there, Andy J. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Am I coming through all right?
Oh, you're coming through.
Yep,
Great.
gotcha.
You're great. We
Perfect.
got you loud and clear, man. We're just in here talking about Daytona. Steven's mentioned how it's our Super Bowl, at least for a lot of people for Daytona 500. For us as media people, right? This is like the as far as like insights and analytics and stuff we're going to be able to get for the year. This is the biggest deal for us. But how about for you with your program? Obviously, you've had some recent success at Daytona before. You got a top 10, you got a double top 10 with the organization at Daytona. How important is that first week to you, to kick off your year, however many races you do in every select year, but kick it off well at Daytona?
Oh man. Well, first off, I just want to say, Mason, man, we were just crushed. So my girlfriend met you at Talladega, so you're like, the only Xfinity driver she's ever met. So she always does a really good job keeping tabs on everything. And we looked up and you were wrecked. I didn't even think the race started yet. I didn't even hear
No.
the engines crank up, and I was like, "Oh my god, that sucks." So I was gutted for you, man. I know what goes into it and all the hype and all the excitement, and that's a big letdown. But you'll bounce back this week, I know for sure. Um, so for us, sort of new with Class Motorsports this year. Between the test and the race, the last couple years, we just haven't had any luck. And one of the drivers went got her the checkered flag and made a car explode. So we've just made a lot of work for ourselves at Daytona between the test and the race the last 2 years, and somehow we brought two cars to both this year and came out clean. So it's a great start to the year. I'm kind of at a point, with where I'm at and where I want to be with them, where I put a lot, just I want to win for them, and that we've been top 10, we've been top 5, we've been in the hunt now. We led some laps Talladega last year, and certainly the super speedway races are ones that we kind of circle that we run really strong at. So it was sort of a day where we got stuck in a bad group for qualifying. Realistically, like we were, I think the third best car was like 40th on speed, and we towed 6 of the 7 cars into the race, leading that pack. So we didn't have a particularly strong group, but we had a really strong car. But it kind of put us in the back right away, and we approached it probably too cautiously, and it kind of just because we did get tore up the last 2 years. Basically, like the last 2 years of Daytona, we spent the whole race trying to rebuild the car out of duct tape and just get back out there to go crash again. So this year we kind of like take the step back, especially after Atlantic City going flying out of the ballpark and all that, and be a little cautious and go figure this is the year everyone kind of kept their noses pretty clean, and we just got stuck back there, got boxed in, and never hoping for a crash, obviously, but just the right strategy for the wrong day. But we got to 10th. Glenn had 2 awesome restarts there at the end and shot up to 5th. So man, that was a great day for the organization. You can't say the plan didn't work. We had 2 really good cars. We were in the top 10 with both cars. really would have liked to been in the hunt a little bit more towards the front of the pack, and we'll have to look at. I think Talladega, with the way the points are going to go, we should start closer to the front. So I think we could be a little bit more aggressive with our strategy there. But coming out of Talladega in good shape. We don't got to spend a lot of money fixing cars. We don't got to spend a lot of time fixing cars, and I think that affords us the opportunity to really get prepared for other races that are coming up. Like we're going to Phoenix in a couple weeks, and then and we're going to Kansas, which is a strong track for us, and then back to Talladega. So I think we're going to go to those races better than ever because we came out of Daytona clean.
Yeah, does it feel a little relieving that there wasn't like double-digit amount of cautions in that race that we saw this weekend?
It was a frustrating race just in general. Just every restart just got stuck in the wrong lines. Lines wouldn't move and just kind of felt boxed in all day. And I knew we had more car than that, so I
Oh, he's
Day of
gone.
Shadow
that's
Run.
how I probably walked away from it feeling like we wishing we were a little bit more in the hunt. But like I say, you don't really know what's.
Aliens got him.
And it's gone.
Poor Andy.
There. Oh, he's back. Hold on.
Yeah, I know that was kind of low hanging fruit there, but that stinks.
Come on. There we go.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, aliens
All right.
got you. You're back.
No, like I said, it's probably kind of a frustrating day. Just felt a little boxed in all day, but like I say, it's hard to. I'm not going to sit here and complain about getting 2 cars in the top 10. That was a really good day for the organization.
Yeah, 100%. And then last initial question for me before I swing it to the boys here. How do you guys view the Nitro Motorsports, what formerly was the Venturini Motorsports Parade? Because obviously on the broadcast looks pretty intimidating. You got, 6 white cars lined up single file, and there was an instance in the race where they literally came ganged up all the way from the back, ran up to the front. You had a few people, spot that, or their spotter caught it and said, "Hey, jump and line up in front of them." You guys in your organization, how do you view them? Is it like hey, we got to go out there and take them down? We got to go out there and try to work with them, or is it something different?
Well, only one team had multiple cars in the top 10 at the end of that race, and that was Class Motorsports.
Sure,
So we'll hang our hat on that for sure. But no, I seen that freight train going by, and I didn't think it was smart to be running 3 wide at that point in the race. And I seen some guys up front trying to block that I didn't really think needed to be blocking that early in the race, and I thought for sure there was going to be trouble, and that was probably the fork in the road for our race, because we kind of backed up and gave ourselves a little bit of a gap in case there was a problem, and it just didn't work out. That was probably our chance to get to the front, as we needed some fast cars to kind of tow off of this. So just how we view them, it's Venturini, it's Nitro, it's and they've been kind of working together. Obviously, they did feel more organized this year, and in a lot of ways, I think that it can be a little overwhelming, certainly in practice and stuff. It is a little frustrating because I feel like the way they check the cars to go out on the track with the height stick, it seems like there's a pretty big tolerance, and we're always kind of in race trim. And I do think there's little games getting played in these practices for the PR laps and the tests and all that. So it's kind of frustrating, because you want to go out there and kind of really see what you got, and then you're kind of racing around cars, and you don't really know who's got what, or who's playing what games in practice. And like they actually did have a disqualification, I believe, from the pole too. So they obviously cutting it pretty close there. But um, they know what they're doing. They're organized. I don't know how they always manage to get a bunch of their cars in the same groups, but they seem to be able to do that too. So they just got a little bit of magic going on with all that. But I can't remember the last time someone else won a pole out there. I guess I got disqualified, but yeah, no, I mean, they're putting the work in. They focus on these super speedway races, and they're the ones you certainly got to contend with. But at the end of the day, it comes down to that shuffle at the end and seeing who's going to make the mistake and trying to survive. So, I think for us, the key for us is just getting a little bit closer to the front, and just I think then it's kind of anyone's game.
Yeah, 100%.
I think getting to lap 60, it helps having a bunch of teammates out there. And I think the last 20 laps, you start lining up for those one lap restarts and all that crazy stuff going on. It's really hard to, then I think plans start to go out the window and it becomes more every man for themselves. And then it's kind of more even at that point. But, um, at the end of the day, they proved it a couple years ago when they tried to do the teammate restart. Like, they're all those drivers are renting rides, and if I was renting a ride and I wouldn't really care that, someone else was renting a ride from the same guy was in front of me, so at the end of the day, none of us are friends. It's not. I think everyone out there, once you get down to the end of those things, is probably trying to win the race. So, I think for us, just kind of getting a little bit closer, get more in the mix, and I always say getting those first two rows on a late restart, and you're in the game.
100%. Well, I'm gonna swing it to the boys here for questions. I'll go to you first, Steven.
Yeah, Andy. RJ referenced the Olympian, I think it was, who invoked the "I'm not going to live until I see God" or the checkered flag. A lot of other people after the duels on Thursday were using that in reference to the move that Casey Mears used to actually make the Daytona 500. I don't know if you were watching the duels or if you, as I see a comment below, or if you saw the highlight. Just what was your I mean, this will be in two parts, but what was your opinion of seeing Casey not lift going into turn three when the 99 car is sliding across the track up into the wall in front of him?
You must have been watching my midget videos, I guess. I don't know. Um, no, I was we were out at doing some sponsor dinner stuff, and we were watching TV, and the sound was off. And personally, I think part of me watching that, I was kind of rooting for Corey LaJoy to get in. He's kind of a northeastern guy, so, and I knew he had a pretty strong car, so I wasn't rooting to get. I think it was a great story seeing Casey, but I was kind of watching that with the sound off at a dinner, and kind of in my heart, kind of pulling for Corey. But not that, obviously it just didn't work out, but all the chaos and all that. But um, I love it. It's gritty. It's gritty. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. That's all we do is get punched in the mouth, and we got to try to keep coming at you. And for a guy to be determined, and I think there's a lot of that missing in racing when you see kind of newer drivers that maybe are a little bit more coached than rely on instincts, because you're coached to do certain things in certain ways, and when it comes down to, okay, the whole field just crashed, I got to get this thing over the line, like Ryan Preece driving over the line in reverse. I think the real racers reveal themselves in those moments, and I think when you're Casey Mears, and you don't have the fastest car and you want to get in the race, you know, don't stop. Go get in the race. So I love the story. It kind of, I guess, similar to your deal, Mason. It kind of stunk to see him get tore up there early on, because that was a kind of frustrating way to end a good story. But no, I love it. I love when racers go figure it out, and it's an underdog story.
Yeah, I guess just my sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mason, but and I'll pose this to you too. I guess one of the things that I thought of when I looked at that was there's such a fine line between that working out and Casey just clobbering the 99 at full speed. Like as you mentioned what you're coached to do in those situations, and it's I mean, is there a part of you that cringes almost when you see a guy come flying into a wreck, knowing that if there's a couple more inches, it probably doesn't end well. Whereas in this, I know in this case, obviously, it made for a really cool highlight and a really cool story. But I don't know. It's just what's your opinion when I put it that way.
I think I always tell people that there's two versions of myself. There's like the race car version, and then there's the non-race car version. And like after a big race, like I gotta like calm down a little bit. I call it like coming back to reality. I don't think every driver is the same, but I think one of the reasons the God or the checkered flag quote got so much traction is I think people, when they listened to that, they knew I meant it. And in that moment, I guess I did, because I was starting with a chance to go win Daytona, and that'd be a life changing thing. And this is everything I ever worked for. And it was right in front of me, and we're about to go green. And I'm, everything we planned for. We're in the first two rows, one lap restart at Daytona. This is, my entire career on the line in one moment here. So you're amped up, and you'll do anything to make that happen. You did anything to get that far. And you know, in the hotel later that night at 1 a.m, I was cringing. Like, oh man, I hope no one noticed I said that. I probably sound stupid. And then I go out and crash the race car. Like, what was I thinking? I probably sound like a lunatic, But in that moment, you'll do whatever it takes. Not that you actually go that far. It's just like but that's kind of the mentality. Is you know you'll do whatever it takes to go win that race, and it's kind of a gladiator aspect. And I think maybe I think all drivers have that in a way, and it just sort of articulated itself in some strange way when Phil Parsons decided to give me an interview before one of the most stressful moments of my racing career. But um, I guess that to answer your question, I think when you're Casey Mears and you're thinking about trying to make the Daytona 500, I don't think you think about the danger aspect or what could go wrong. I think you think about winning. I think you think about getting through that and making that race and achieving your goal. And I think that's how you approach it. I think you got to be, yeah, obviously the cars are very safe, but I think just in general to be a really good race car driver, you do got to be a little fearless. And I think that's the romance of all of it. I think that's why people love it. I think that's, it can be why, you know, it can be heartbreaking. Obviously, I've lost two family members to the sport, and you don't ever want to think about stuff like that. But these fans show up to watch these drivers be brave and go do these things, and no one ever wants to get hurt or see anyone get hurt. But there is an aspect to it that they're out there being brave, and the great drivers are brave. So I think we all know that, and we all want to be that guy when we're in the race car.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and Andy, it's like I something that I don't think people quite take into account, and I can honestly say it from experience. I was fortunate enough to work with you and the Klaus team on what was the pretty early stages of that team, right? That organization. I was fortunate enough to get to drive your car at the ARCA test a couple of years ago, and I mean that was an absolute hot rod. Absolutely loved it getting to work with you and your guys, but like it's little things, right? Like I remember when you guys showed up to the track, you were in a truck and trailer, right? And now here you are with a big semi. You got obviously two cars, and Glenn Reen has been a great addition to the team as well, and a Northeastern guy as well, with the modified world. So that's kind of cool how it all fits entwined. But fielding two cars, having a ton of great people, being a part of that. Kind of talk about that, what you as well as with Andy Seiss have been able to do with growing the organization from the ground up to what it is today.
Yeah, I guess the big puzzle piece in that factor is Kevin LaPierre, who when I first started, when I first bought an ARCA car, I didn't really plan on doing much more than Daytona, and Kevin came on pretty early as a sponsor. We got some other sponsors: Florida Safety Systems, Automotive Consultants, and Yukon Creek, and Wheelan, and a bunch of people kind of jumped on board. But Kevin LaPierre became one of my sponsors, and he saw Andy Seiss helping me, saw this crew chief Mike Dayton that I had helping me, and kind of saw me also doing this, like you say, out of a trailer, and kind of making it work, but definitely doing it the hard way, and probably certainly not living up to any kind of potential we might have as people, just because of the limited resources we were kind of trying to make up for. And had a dream. He had a goal or ambition to be a team owner, and gave me that chance to kind of step into a driver role, and he took over the operation of the team and became the team owner, and I became the driver. And through his business connections and everything he has going on in his professional life, has been able to bring a lot of added sponsors to what we do. And he's all in on it. So that's where you see the investment. It's from Kevin investing into what was just me with a race car, and Andy Seiss with a shop, and Mike Dayton, with looking for a crew chief job, and my Buffalo guys just looking for an adventure. And he kind of put resources behind that to try to do it the right way. And um, that became Class Motorsports, and that's what we're all investing into still here today, and growing. And it's been a wild ride. I couldn't have imagined I'd be doing this year. I'm gonna go over 50 races as an ARCA driver, and I never, you know, six years ago I didn't think I'd ever do one, and then I kind of figured I could Hail Mary my way into one, and then all of a sudden, it kind of turned into this whole thing that you see going to the racetrack every week with all these people involved. And I always count my blessings. It's been a special ride for sure. But it's also fun to, because this did start out as chasing the dream, and wanting to go see all these racetracks, and never lost that competitive nature. And I think that's where, we were able to get Kevin interested, because everything we did, we tried to do good with. But now we're going to these races, and we're still appreciating all these things we have going on. But we're going with equipment that is competitive, and we're becoming one of the stronger teams on the circuit. And we led laps last year. We've raced in the top five. And I'm not, there's never been a race where I say, dang it, we should have won that race. Maybe Talladega last year, we got really close. But we're getting to be where we're in the hunt. And I think when you're in the hunt enough times, that we just need a couple things to fall our way, and then we can go win one of these things. But it's exciting to have the resources and everything behind us to, unload the car from the truck and trailer, and be thinking about how we're going to go win this thing, not just being there. But it's exciting. It's one of a kind. It's a unique story. I don't think you can say it's much like anything else. But it's definitely a family aspect. We hang out, we camp, we go to the bars, we hang out after the race, and we have a lot of fun with it. And it's just a good group of guys that came up through, like the blue collar aspects of the sport, and spent a lot of time there. And we kind of bring that personality with us, I think.
100%. And for you, I mean, you mentioned real quick about, obviously you planned for one, and now you're approaching 50, this year, which congratulations. Don't know which race exactly that'll be, but I'm
Yeah,
sure
I gotta think about it. I think it's
the
somewhere around
story Andy
45.
J 50th start on the ARCA page or something. Hopefully.
Yeah, I know it'll be this year. I just don't. We were somewhere in the mid 40s, low to mid 40s. I think I was at 45, so I gotta figure it. But it'll be this year. But it's all of ours. I know it. You know, everyone that's really involved at the core has been involved from very early on, like the second or third race of Andy J Racing. So no matter what moniker was on the top of the sign-in sheet when we registered the car, it's been all of us in one way, shape, or form. And um, so it's all of ours, and it's something we can all hang our hat on, and be proud of as it goes and it grows. And um, like I said, just excited to be part of it. Want to deliver for him. Want to go get that win this year. I feel like this is the year. I just was working on some sim stuff for Phoenix, kind of getting ready for that. We got a new car going there that we're excited about. It's a new old car, but it was actually we bought it from Rev Racing. It's a very old car, but it was LeVar Scott's best short track car, and he was always always wheeling that thing up towards the front. So we'll. I think she's got some magic in her, and I'm a big believer in special race cars. I think this is a special race car, so we'll see how she goes. But just a lot of cool stuff going on up on the horizon. We had a new sponsor this weekend with Hooked. They're kind of joining in with Phillips 66 and Dax and Acacia and Wheeling and all our primary sponsors that are kind of filling out these races for us, and we're hoping to have a pretty aggressive schedule.
Steven, as a guy that's been covering the sport for a while, what was the first? Can you recall the first time you heard the name Andy Jankowiak? Do you remember the first ever Andy J story you ever heard or covered?
Probably before Daytona a couple of years ago. I think I kind of because I remember Andy. I remember you buying. I think it was the assets of Austin Terrio's team, either him or Ken Schrader's.
Traders.
And
Yep.
yeah, so once I know, okay, he bought. And obviously, I also heard from the angle of you being from the Northeast and having a day job as a pizza delivery driver, which
Still got it.
being from the lower Hudson Valley of New York, I certainly appreciate it. But when I realized, okay, he's driving the Schrader cars, he should have a pretty good piece under him, and everything I've seen since has really reinforced that. To go with obviously what you've shown as far as your driving chops are concerned. So I think by and large about around the same time as everyone else who kind of tangentially follows the ARCA goes. So that's my Andy Jankowiak experience to date.
That's a good one for sure. And what I wanted to ask you, Andy, is you talk about getting started in the series and being in it for a little bit now. How does it feel any extra cool that you're kind of like a household ARCA name? Like you got a lot of background to you. Like when they talk about you on the broadcast, most of the media, like anybody watching an ARCA race, like they know, they know the Brad Smiths, right, and the other names that have been there for a while. But I feel like you're kind of a household name in the series. You've had some great moments. I found this picture of you that I'm gonna put up here eating a banana in the race car. Like I feel like that's just pretty cool, you know. That's just you, man. But like,
Yeah.
what does it feel any extra cool that like not only when you tell the story about you really having a goal of making one start, and now it seems like anyone that at least watches ARCA, on a decent basis or knows they know the name and the story of you.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool. Um, it's very special not to be have a small association relationship to the series as a driver with a recognizable name, and I don't consider myself that, but to have a small relationship in that way is really cool. Um, I look at guys, you look at like a Frank Kimmel, and a guy that kind of made his career on ARCA, and how cool he made ARCA, and just a guy like that associated this gigantic legendary career with really just being an ARCA driver, and Andy Hillenberg and all these guys that just made ARCA so cool. So to have one tiny little place in history with that series, it's the perfect thing for me to kind of be associated with. And certainly still writing the story a little bit. We've had a lot of really cool moments. We've had a ton of fun with it. I'm really lucky to have leadership group with Kevin and Andy and everybody that kind of lets me go have a little fun with it, and kind of leans into it with me a little bit. Like they love it. They love having some fun with the TV broadcast. And um, probably the only one we really didn't plan was the God or the checkered flag, but everything else is just kind of like me being goofy and just kind of letting that happen, like bringing a banana in the car and all that. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been fun to be competitive and kind of get in the mix a little bit. Obviously just being out there is one thing, but being somebody that can go race towards the front, and also having a little bit of a reputation for being a little bit of goofing off a little bit too, and having some fun with it, and going out in Talladega Boulevard and having some beers, and getting the most out of it that we can get. But it's there's such a long history with ARCA, and just so many legendary drivers, and it is it is uniquely different from NASCAR, even though it's so closely associated with NASCAR. And there it's like that perfect middle ground between, like you look at like a cup series and like the short track series that exists, and you think about guys from the Midwest like like a Dick Trickle or Rusty Wallace and these guys, and ARCA being kind of from the same region. It just has a rich history, and it's something I'm really proud to be a part of the series, and be one small part, and being someone that gets a couple minutes of the broadcast every time around. And like I say, hopefully getting victory lane and get to do some burnouts in one too.
Yes, sir. Any of you guys got any more questions for Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I got one more just before we end it off, but I feel like obviously we've talked primarily ARCA, your journey with that class motorsports. I think people tend to forget you're a pretty versatile driver. Between doing the indoor racing, modified racing, you're pretty much in a car every single week, it seems like. So talk about kind of those different disciplines between the ARCA car, the modified, the indoor racing. Does it help? Is it different in their own retrospects? Let's kind of debrief a little bit about that. And is being active as you are behind the wheel, is that playing a dividend on the ARCA side?
I think it all helps. I really do. I've always made that argument. I think seat time is better than any sim time. Obviously you go to these tracks and you practice on the sim, but I still think, even if it's not the exact same car or whatever, I just think being in a competitive situation and having to execute in real life, with modifieds or midgets or what have you, I think it does nothing but help. It keeps those competitive juices flowing week in and week out. It keeps me sharp. I can always get in a race car and go. I don't ever have to get up to speed. I'm always ready. And um, I think racing is just racing. I feel like I've always been able to adapt to whatever I get into. To me, it's you know it's just keeping that competitive fire very, very sharp, keeping the reflexes sharp, winning restarts. Obviously when you get in ARCA, stuff like that, it's very line sensitive. You're really thinking about air, and you go modified racing, and you really got to think about saving your tires. And probably the most fun is the TQs, because you just get to go nuts for 40 laps and just melt everything to the ground. And how fast can you go? And I just get to go be a maniac. So, which is a strength of mine, as you can probably tell if you ever watch me in one of those things. But definitely different disciplines, and but they all help. I think they all add up to the same thing at the end of the day. It's just about keeping those competitive juices flowing, and keeping me sharp, and keeping me in those environments where I have to be thinking my way through and executing, and don't take laps off, and nail every restart, and hit every line, and make good decisions, and think through strategies, and like I say, everyone is obviously different, and there's different aspects to it, but at the end of the day, it's trying to cross that finish line first. And I think it's good to practice winning.
100%, my friend. Well, we appreciate you coming on here on the show. I know we tried to make it happen a handful of times last year.
Yeah,
Wasn't
I'm a
able
hot
to.
mess. You guys got to bug me.
No, you're
I'm,
good, man.
they say like driving the race cars, going to the racetracks, that's not hard. Getting the race cars to the racetrack is the hard part. I can drive, and once you put me in that seat, I am just fine. It's getting that car into the trailer. And with all these cars we got going on, with a lot of volunteer help, that's where the challenge comes from. That's where I start missing text messages. So um but no, I'm lucky. I got a lot of people involved in this, a lot of volunteer help too, still, and everyone just makes it happen. And it's just one. It's you see me out there. I'm representing over 100 people that are behind this, and making it all happen. And from the short tracks of Buffalo to the high banks of Daytona.
Yes, sir. You the man. I'm glad we figured it out and made it work out. And we'll certainly talk with you soon, my man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me anytime.
Yes, sir. And that was Andy Jankowiak, driver in the ARCA Menard Series Class Motorsports. Like he said a fact that I didn't know. Yeah, they're the only organization that scored a double top 10, which is incredible to think about how much Nitro Motorsports was grinding and trying to work their way up there as a pack. I'm sure you guys have seen my camera's been frying itself all stream. I don't know what it's doing. Brand new camera we got, and it's having some issues. But without further ado, let's at least get some Daytona talk in here, some Daytona 500 talk. We're gonna bring in our nothing but expert NASCAR analyst here, Tanner Propella, to join us. Tanner, please give a warm welcome over here to Mr. Steven Toronto.
How's it going, Steven?
Going good.
I've watched NASCAR here and there. I grew up with RJ, and he's obviously watched NASCAR since birth. So what better news page than Motor Stardom? And I've been watching NASCAR since his brand launched off, so I've been paying as much attention as possible. And I did tap in to the Daytona 500 this weekend. I did only watch Cup Series. Mason, I heard you had a bad weekend. Sorry to hear about that.
Everyone's just going to pay their condolences as soon as they get in.
I know.
I actually got a pretty good video of you driving off from that, Mason. It brings me no pleasure to tell you that, but at least we got. I was looking at that white and kind of flamingo pink car in the garage here, and I was thinking, man, that's. I know Mason's from Florida. That's that's pretty on brand. That's pretty sharp looking, and a pretty inauspicious start to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series era. And I pan and I catch the 91, like, he's probably not going to go much further with that thing. That's tough. So it was my sympathies on how your Daytona went.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. It was a tough one to swallow, that's for sure. I went from telling the team, over the radio, hey, thank you, telling everybody, hey, thank you for the opportunity, the teams, partners, family, friends, everybody, let's get a good start to the season and all that stuff. And not even a few seconds later, next thing you know, stacking up, we're in it, and we're done. So definitely was not fun. I didn't have a lot of good things to say over the radio, but about that. But you know what? It is racing, whether we like it or not. They stacked up on the restart, and I just got pushed into it. It's not the guy behind me's fault. It's not the guy ahead of me's fault. It just happens. Guys play games on the starts or miss shifts, whatever the case is. I still don't know exactly who started that or what exactly happened, but at the end of the day, it happens whether we like it or not. Obviously not the start to the season that we wanted with our DGM crew, but we're going to keep at it. We're going to go into a fresh mindset as we head into Atlanta. So, we got a lot to look forward to. And it's like I was telling RJ, we got a brand new partner on the car. So just going to shake off Daytona and hopefully have a solid result in Atlanta and hopefully get our season off on a better note at Echo Park Speedway. I need to start calling it that for PR reasons, Echo Park Speedway. So, but no, we're excited. We're confident about the piece that we're bringing, so it should be a good time. But as far as Daytona 500 stuff goes, I mean, I thought it was great. Honestly, I feel like moving the start time up was the right call. Thankfully, we had no weather the whole weekend or the whole time, so that was really good. And then watching that last lap, I mean, that was absolute cinema, watching that last lap and the chaos that ensued. And I legitimately stepped up from the couch and was just thinking in my head, I was like, I thought it was going to be, McDowell. Then I thought it was going to be, Stenhouse. Then it was Elliott. I thought Zane Smith had a shot at it at the end. And then here comes Tyler Reddick and Riley Herbst out of nowhere. And then I thought, well, it's going to be Herbst or Reddick. And lo and behold, Reddick got the run off the corner. Riley gave him a hell of a push and was able to get the 45 car out front and get 2311 their first win of the Daytona 500. So really, really cool to see. I actually had a ton of friends that are not NASCAR fans exactly that tuned into that, and they're like, "Is every race like that?" And I was like, "You need to start watching it more and finding out." So. But no, it was super fun to watch. Glad everybody was okay from the carnage and the last lap wrecks. There was a couple of hard hits, but honestly, I truly enjoyed it. We saw a mix of underdogs at the front. We saw some guys make some crazy moves. it was fun to watch. As it always is, Daytona 500. It's such a prestigious event for our sport. That's our Super Bowl, so we knew it was going to be exciting from start to finish. And I don't think no team that goes into it doesn't think, well, I wouldn't mind, just being a part of it. They want to go win the Daytona 500. So super fun to watch, and we got a little bit of everything. So glad that it turned out good. Glad that we had another sold out Daytona 500 in attendance. So that was great to see. And hopefully we could just keep that momentum going as far as on the Cup side for Atlanta.
I believe we all watched it from different spots. Steven, you were up in the press box, I believe. How did that appear to you? That last lap, were you kind of on the side where you were just waiting for that caution to be thrown? Were you surprised?
I was actually. So that was as different an experience watching the finish to a Daytona 500 as I've had, because leaning into more of a social and digital strategy, I've been relying far more on video than I did in the past. So I need to make absolutely sure I got the last 2 laps on my phone. So my focus was on, making sure I got my marks in as it was what was actually happening on track. I could comprehend who was leading. I knew Hocevar was up front, and I knew, and obviously when the cars go to the backstretch, they kind of disappear from, or at least become very hard to make out with your eyes alone from where I'm at. But when I saw the field go into turn 1 and wreck, I was kind of focused on them and waiting for the yellow to come out. I didn't know who was. I wasn't even sure that Hocevar was in it until people in the press box started pointing out things and shouting, "Oh, Chase Elliott's ahead! Chase Elliott's ahead!" So I pan over and I pick the cars up on the backstretch, and I can kind of get a sense of where the 38 is relative to the 9, and I was looking at it and I thought, okay, well, they're staggered enough that I think the 9 is just going to be able to run home free to the checkered flag, and they're not going to be able to mount a charge or a run on him. What I underestimated was when these cars get in a small pack of about 8, 9, maybe 10, kind of like what we had in the summer race at Atlanta last year, they take full advantage of the maneuverability that they suddenly have, as opposed to when they're running in a 3-wide glob. And the closing rate is so violent with these cars that obviously we're watching the replay right now, and entering turn 3, it doesn't look like Reddick really has anything, and then just suddenly you see it even before the 35 gets to his bumper. He just is able to summon that extra amount of what he needs to slingshot not only the 38 but then the 9 by the tri-oval. So it kind of took me a minute to really comprehend what I saw as far as the last lap went. Obviously, I thought the last 5 laps were terrific. I think that with this car on super speedways, I think from, I would say, summer Daytona on last year, I think it's finally gotten to a point where if they're running flat out all the way at the end of the race and something kind of happens to disrupt the pack, the racing is very good. I feel the only, and this was referenced earlier, but I loudly applaud NASCAR and Fox as well for signing off on this, for them moving up the race an hour, because I know a lot of people saw the video I posted. I got back down from the press box at about 6:15, 6:20, and by that time I was starting to feel big drops. I had seen a lightning bolt in the distance walking down. And then when Reddick entered the media center, you could just hear how intense the rain was outside. So NASCAR finally got one in over Mother Nature. I was very happy to see that, especially considering the trend of recent Daytona 500s. The one thing I think that I was not satisfied with from that race was, I would say, from the third stage on, when we really got into hardcore fuel saving mode. I don't think I was able to really discern who had the best car, because we were getting down to 20 to go, 15 to go, and just waiting on that last pit stop to see where everyone kind of shook out. And I was saying to myself, thinking, okay, I still really don't have a read or a bead on exactly who is going to be contending for the win here. I don't know who just has a superior enough car that they're going to be not obviously not guaranteed to win the race, but going to be a factor in it. And even now, I'm thinking to myself, well, I guess Bubba Wallace, he was out front for so long. He, had a really strong car all Speedweeks, but I do think that if there was anything that, and I try not to be too critical or unrealistic as far as what I'm seeing from the current Super Speedway Racing package, because the two faces out of the two. It's the teams know they can do it. They know why they need to do it. They know it works. So it's like, well, how are you going to? You can't fix this by legislating against it. That's not realistic. That's not real life. And even Billy Scott said so in his post-race press conference. It's like it's kind of like asking us to play chess it's like asking us to rework the rules of chess. But I do think long term, NASCAR is going to have to take a look at this, whether it is something similar to what Denny Hamlin suggested in his conversation with Dale Jr. in regards to maybe increasing speeds and making handling more of a factor at Daytona and Talladega, just to make sure that the cars aren't so planted in the ground that driving isn't as much of the sheer driving part of it isn't as much of a factor as it is the strategy element. But I think overall I was, and especially with Reddick winning, allowing for people in the national sports media to highlight, the Daytona 500 was today. Michael Jordan wins as a car owner. Here he is in victory lane, and all of the things that have come with that over the past 48 hours now. I think NASCAR has needed something like that. It's needed good PR and good exposure like that, almost, given the offseason that we had. So I would say it's a good opening day. And one more thing that kind of lives in my head rent-free here. Imagine being someone who has always dreamed of being a dignitary for a really big event, or even the Daytona 500 specifically, doing something like being the Grand Marshal, giving the command, waving the green flag to start. And imagine being told by someone, yep, you're finally going to do it. You're going to get to wave the green flag in the Daytona 500, and you're going to wear a Bart Simpson costume doing it. I really want to know what that guy's story is, who was wearing the Bart costume on the flag stand, because it's like, oh, I should suspend my disbelief. I shouldn't look this uncritically. Yeah, that's Bart Simpson up there. What about it? But just knowing that there was someone in there who, I don't know what they were thinking or how to feel, or if they're just such a professional that it's like, yeah, this is, I wear mascot costumes like this. This is, I become the character. This is kind of what I do. I don't know if it's just the way my mind works, but if any of you guys have an opinion on that, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I'm back here on my Mac.
Your camera isn't camera fully dropped in the fryer, or what happened?
PC, yeah, no, it's been a rough 2 weeks for the technical equipment, but we got here on the Mac, but definitely on the last part, yeah, the Bart Simpson waving the green flag, I thought was absolutely hilarious. I mean, that was certainly like when they said Bart Simpson was waving the green flag, I already was like, how are they going to do this? And
yeah, I thought they were going to do. I thought it was going to be animated. I thought they were just going to put Bart Simpson up on the big board or something like that, and have it done that way. But I was taking a video of the green flag, and at that point I realized, oh, they got a guy in a Bart Simpson costume. Okay, this is different. I kind of like it, but it's then I kind of thought more critically about it, and I was like, man, would I really sign off on that if someone asked me to wave the green flag for the 500, but to do it that way, it's I don't know, it's gonna take up my my intrusive thoughts for at least the next 24 hours, and then I'll probably forget it entirely.
I thought it was a joke originally.
When I saw it, I thought it was just going to be on TV, like how football does, like the Nickelodeon game.
Bowl.
Yeah, like I thought it was only going to be Bart Simpson waving the flag on TV, and everyone who's there just didn't see Bart Simpson. I thought it was going to be like a TV only thing, but they suited a guy up and made him wave the green flag. I thought it was. I don't know. I don't know if I'm signing off on that though.
No,
I legitimately thought
the
it was
original
a joke.
MVP.
Yeah, I thought it was a joke originally. Like when I saw it, and I'm scrolling on, I think it was Instagram, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty funny." And then I like scroll back up, and I realized I was like, "Oh wait, Daytona posted that, so it's got to be official, right?" And then next thing you know, I'm watching the 500, and I'm like, well, "I'll be damned, Bart Simpson's waving the green flag for the Daytona 500." So no, it's super cool whenever we see collaborations like that between household names like The Simpsons. That's been super popular on TV for the last couple decades, really, and getting to do that. But I think anytime you get to wave the green flag for the Daytona 500, whether it's as yourself or whatever character you're playing, I think it's pretty cool. But it's always cool when we get cool collaborations that are really popular with today's media that come and do something entwined with NASCAR to some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It's also very good that he didn't pull any tricks like Bart Simpson has been known to do.
Yeah, at least he didn't drop the green flag like Michael Walker.
I was about to say, don't pull Mikey in the All-Star race. Don't drop the flag on the track. But yeah, that was
Well, I mean, he would have been very flippant about it. Like, hey man, don't have a cow, dude. I don't know if that was a very good Bart Simpson at all. I never
watched the show too much. I actually have no idea, but
yeah.
I haven't watched it too much. Maybe Mason has.
You didn't watch The Simpsons in its heyday? Actually, wait. You're like 21, 22, right?
21.
21.
Okay, yeah. Then you I grew up during like the heyday of like the Simpsons glory era. So Bart was far more and the whole Simpsons cast really were far more culturally pervasive, I would say, than they are now. Even if Bart still has enough pull to do that, it's I don't know if the series really is held in the same regard in terms of relevance that it once was. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, exactly. And so before we let you go here, Steven, it's been a great hour talking to Andy J and talking some Daytona stuff and telling some stories. Is there any insight just to tell people where to find you, what they can look forward to this year from you? I know you said more social video content and things like that.
Yeah, so I am a terminally online person. I am almost always on the internet. X and Instagram are my two biggest platforms. X is my primary. Instagram is kind of a secondary that I make sure to post to a lot as well. But I also have, just as I've become more of a independent media person / freelancer / whatever, I am expanding my presence. I am on TikTok now. I am on Facebook now, if you're still using Facebook. I also am going to try and do some more stuff with YouTube and even Substack, but for right now, the plan is to be back at the racetrack this coming week in Atlanta, and then do a little more remote work for the time being. Kind of regroup, see where I'm at as far as putting some stuff, either putting something together full time or finding ways to get more in the piggy bank to keep going to the racetrack and keep doing my thing as far as race coverage and producing content from the track and from pit road and from the garage area, like people want. And we'll just see where 2026 takes us.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll see you in Atlanta. Mason will see you in Atlanta. We're excited to see you next week, my friend, and thanks for joining us on here.
Yep, looking forward to seeing you guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. That was Steven Taranto, formerly with CBS Sports, now going through endeavors by himself. He's got some new opportunities coming up that I'm sure he'll let the people know soon. So excited to have him on here. The start of a new trend here in the Motor Stardom Show to bring on our media folks, to hang out with us, talk to the drivers, tell their stories as well as we go through this exciting NASCAR years we just started up. So we got Big C's coming up at 7 a.m. as in Caesar, or 7 p.m. as Caesar Bacarella. So should be on here in a second. So we're going to take a 1-minute break here real quick. And we'll be right back with you on the other end with the Italian stallion, Caesar Bacarella. We'll see you on the other side. Long break, everybody. Welcome back to the Motor Stardom Show, where we are here recapping Daytona. We just talked to Andy Jankowiak. We talked to Steven Taranto, formerly with the CBS Sports. We watched my PC crap itself for the second episode in a row as we are back here on the MacBook for the Motor Stardom Show here on Tuesday night. Quick congratulations to all the winners this weekend. Friday night in the truck race, Chandler Smith, 4 wide there on the bottom. Talk about all the insane finishes we have had this week. Chandler Smith was able to pull off a miracle in a race where I don't think anybody really saw him winning that one coming off of turn 4. Beautiful shot here with that's not Matt Kraft and Ty Majeski on the bottom side there. So congrats to him for winning that race. And then it was Saturday for the ARCA series. Gio Ruggiero won that one, defeating Nitro Motorsports. In the O'Reilly series, it was Old Reliable, Austin Hill, winning that race, held off an Alpha Prime car, which we'll talk to Caesar about here when he slides in with us. And then obviously, like we were talking about in the Daytona 500, it was Tyler Reddick coming away with that victory and the miraculous finish that we saw there. Pulling a crossover move, a Michael Jordan-esque crossover move there on Chase Elliott there, breaking the hearts of the number 9 fans. Doesn't even get a podium spot after a move like that. And then before we get super rolling here, definitely a thank you to everybody, all the Motor Stardom supporters. 40,000 on Instagram, now 40.5K. Over on the Instagram. I was talking to somebody on pit road before the race, one of the followers of the account, and I was like, yeah, man, 40K or 40K, maybe by summertime for the Instagram page. Well, guess what? 24 hours later, we hit it. So awesome, blessed, definitely incredibly thankful for the week that I was able to have in Daytona, and the stocks are high. The stocks are high for Motor Stardom. Oh, I forgot I put a stat sheet here for it. 7.8 million social views across all social medias, 102,000 likes on Instagram. 6 races covered, 55 driver interviews, and infinite media center water bottles drank. Yes, shout out to Sonny. The only time I will shout out to Sonny for water. So, anyways, they say down in South Beach that opening a pack of Prime Bites muffins the same serotonin as cracking open an ice cold beer. So,
let's go.
I like it. I'll take it.
Caesar Bacarella, how are we doing? And where the hell
Good.
are you?
All right, at my daughter's volleyball practice. So can you guys hear
okay.
me here, or do I have to they got
I
some?
can hear you well. I just didn't know if you were at the gym or something. That would have been
No, check it out. So they're doing a little volleyball thing here, doing a practice. So daddy daycare today,
Indoor sand?
It's indoor sand, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. That's awesome.
It's also in Florida because it's hot, so you got the AC cranking,
It is hot down here. It's been a little chillier lately than usual, but definitely a little toasty. But glad to bring you in here, man. You had a wild week. Obviously, you spend every week as a co-owner no matter what, but then you get to the track for these super speedway races and you put on your driving helmet. Explain all the events of this weekend, kind of the emotions that you're going through, prepping as a driver, as a co-owner, and then you're stepping out of the seat, obviously, to make a deal with a buddy of yours. Take us through all of that.
First of all, we got to give an attaboy for Mason, bro. You see his qualifying he did out there?
He did.
Yeah, so good attaboy with him. I know the race didn't end like he wanted, but that was a nice fast lap he threw down, so I'm happy for him. He had a fast start,
Appreciate it, buddy. That means a lot considering how it ended before it even really started. But,
I know it sucked. But I gave you that attaboy, but yeah, so it was a crazy weekend as always. Had to qualify on time. I go, do my lap, and I could have qualified better. I messed up shifting into fourth. I had that digital dash, and it's garbage. It's like it vibrates like 600 RPM, so you don't know exactly where you're at. So I think when I shifted into fourth, I just guessed the wrong spot. I think we could have been a little bit faster, but at the end of the day, we qualified good. And then you guys know what happened. Alfredo, got DQ'd with the 500, and then didn't qualify for our race. So that's like you talking about a double whammy, But I'm really good friends with his manager, also Craven, and Craven, he's helped me a lot with my motors, with ECR. He's done a lot for the team, for me, and then we're trying to work on an affiliate program, for next year or stuff like that. So we're in talks and stuff like that. So it was I saw his face when he came up to me and he asked me. I'm like, he did not just ask me that, but when I saw his face, I'm like, okay, time to think here. And at the end of the day, for what it's worth, sometimes you got to give back to people that help you in the industry, because that was his motor that was in the car. And like 30 days ago, I don't think I was going to show up because I didn't have a motor, So for him to go out there and and he asked, I'm like, you know what, it is what it is, and just made a deal with him and say, okay, go ahead, give him the ride.
100% I use the tagline here, Alpha Alfredo. Is that stick? Is you think it's cool? Is it kind of?
I like it. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I saw it too. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And a decent picture of me, because I get the worst pictures, bro. They always post the worst picture of my hair, like all crazy and whatnot. So at least you pick up the decent pictures. You
were stressing, man. You were stressing. It was a crazy end of that race, and I want to talk about that real quick before I send it to the boys for questions, and we can even watch it here. Brendan Poole had a shot, man, and I feel like we said that for so many of these super speedway races with him. He was in a Ganassi car or with you guys, but as you see here on the backstretch, And I had to give props to Justin Allgaier. And one thing I was saying that I'll say real quick is anybody in a junior motorsports with those big, powerful cars, they would have probably tried to ditch the lower funded car. He would have probably tried to hit it dry. Allgaier stuck in there, tried to give Brennan a shove. They got stacked up. He got clobbered from behind. Brennan makes the most. This angle didn't even do it justice. But I'm seeing the backstretch angle of Brendan Poole making like literally the most amazing save of all time. How was that on the box? Obviously, you're watching the 4-car, you're watching LeVar Scott, his first super speedway race, but Brendan Poole's a shot to win there at the end. Or like, what are the emotions as you see him kind of build up that backstretch?
It was great. Remember, I was cheering on the 4-car too. It's my car, So not only that, he got my ride. I want to make sure that he had a good experience, So I was cheering him on. I thought he was going to get the top 10, no problem. He just picked the wrong line and never went up. But the 44, when they go green, I don't know if you have to rewind the video. Brennan is up the 21's ass like an inch away and doesn't get off his bumper, and I'm like, damn, the 44's got some giddy up, And I'm like, we actually have a chance here, And then on the backstretch, I knew the push was coming from Allgaier. Allgaier's a cool guy. I pushed him at Talladega. He thanked me a lot. And then I knew he's going to push. I was like, he's going to push this guy before the 21. But if you look at the video, Allgaier he was going to push, but you see Allgaier got a little bit nudge right before also. So it was just too strong of a jolt. You know what I mean? And just unfortunately, it unsettled the car a little bit, and that was it. But if that car if he were able to handle the hit and didn't settle the car, he probably would have won the race. Because that was a shot. You know what I mean? He gave him, but it was exciting. I was in between both pits. I'm like, all right, 44, and I'm looking at LeVar that keeps hanging in there. I'm just happy all cars, finished pretty clean. I think I need a bumper and a little small quarter, but they all came out like in one piece. I was happy with LeVar to finish the race. I just wanted him to finish, to get his, his motivation back up. Like, all right, you're starting a new league with this is not ARCA. So I think that worked. He left real happy. Brandon was happy as can be. Even though that happened, he was in the trailer. He had the big Kool-Aid smile. So it was happy for him to, we got good TV time. Like we were there. People definitely knew we were there,
Yeah, 100%. I'll send it to the boys for questions. I'll start with you, Mason.
Yeah, I mean, like you talk about, working with Alfredo for that deal with the 4-car. Obviously, I don't think people give it justice. Obviously the garage area, we're all very competitive, right? But at the end of the day, like we're one big family. We're going to try to help each other out in places where we can. So I know you touched on that a little bit, but you talk about having somebody like Anthony in the car, and him just even having a shot there at the end, with the solid finish. So talk about, what was, obviously it was a rush deal, trying to get Anthony comfortable in the car and then making sure that, him and the team mesh. Kind of talk about how, that experience with Anthony went, but not just with the results, but just with him bonding with the team, getting used to the car, and ultimately putting together what was a very respectful day.
Yeah, it was very, very. I think it went so smooth because we when they first asked me, you're like, shit, you just not just ask me that question, and then two, you look up and it's like, I know who I'm talking to, and I'm like, damn, this guy's done so much. So you're like, it's the biggest race of the year. Your family's there, your friends are there. It was a big event for us, but it hurt a lot. But then you're like, you know what? I prayed on it. I'm like, all right, what do I do here? And I just felt like saying, you got to do the right thing sometimes, And so once I gave the okay, he was, they were both of them were like so super excited, like all right, and everybody was just focused on getting him in the seat. Both teams were like working together to, get him in the seat. He actually used my seat, so I'm not that fat, you know what I mean? My shoulders are way broader than his, but yeah, put some padding in there. But it was very like even his crew chief. I was in the box. They were looking at me. They were questioning me on a few things. I had to give advice on my brakes because my brakes are not that great. I'm like, bro, you got to keep them hot. About the dash, it glitched 2 times, but it was like was very cool. Like we all gelled from his crew chief, giving us information, we giving back information. It's like like we became one, you know, in that box, you know. And I'm cheering him on, even though he's a competitor of ours. But I was cheering him on. Like I wanted him, like, listen, you got my ride. I want you not to get embarrassed. I want you to have a good finish. I wanted him to, like, you know, if you look at it, I don't think he could plan a worse start of the season. And I wanted him to, like, he's actually a great kid, you know. He's a man now, bike home kid, so I'm so old. But I think at the end of the day, it went perfect, you know. And I think everybody was super happy. There was high fives all the way around. But I wanted him to make sure. My biggest concern was during the race was that he had a fast car. I want him to finish good, you know, because there's a pride thing with Alpha Prime Racing. You know, you're a competitor of ours. I want you, like, okay, we did out qualify you. I want you to, at least when you race my car, that you have a good experience. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And before I throw it to Tanner here, I will say, you know, Tanner, as a race fan, his favorite drivers going into the O'Reilly series, he's going to be rooting for Cesar Bacarella and for Mason Maggio. And so I had to text him an update at the very beginning of the race, and I think it plainly just said Cesar stepped out of the seat and Mason just crashed on lap one. And so wasn't great for him, obviously for any of us. But Tanner, go ahead. You got anything for C's?
So if I'm not mistaken, this is LeVar Scott's first year for Alpha Prime Racing.
Yeah, it's his first year. Yep.
Yeah. How excited are you for him this season, and what are your expectations?
So I'm super excited to have the kid. I like the kid. He has a great personality. Number one, let's start there. You know, we're in the show business. All right, I don't care what anybody says. It's entertainment. You know, so the way he talks, the way he presents himself, very humble, clean cut. I love how he has great personality. You know, I think he's trying really hard to prove something here. You know, but I told him, relax. This ain't an ARCA car. And he kind of realized that when we tested over at Rockingham. You know, he spun out. He kind of, like, you know, eyes wide open, instant. Like, yeah, this is not. You can't drive these in that hard. You can't underdrive it. You can't overdrive it. So my expectations in was, like, that's why I was happy. I was like, just finish the Daytona race. You know, to get him mentally focused for, like, okay, you know, I'm gonna be good. At the end of the day, I just want him. You know, I think he's gonna do really good. I don't know how good. It's just how fast can he adapt to these cars. People don't realize these cars are hard to drive. Okay, they're not easy to drive. You know, people would tell you, you know, it's just, you know, that Junior says that he thinks they're harder than Cup cars to drive. I mean, they're so, you know, on edge. There's no downforce. There's no nothing. So I think for a new driver, you know, the biggest thing that's going to get you is, bro, spinning it out. You know, you're just going to get frustrated. You know, and a lot of these guys have, like, you know, it's hard. Like, when I go into a car, I haven't driven it forever. Same thing like Mason. You know, he don't get to drive every week. You know, when you drive every week, that's like getting into your pickup truck, you know, your car. You know what it can do. You know it like the back of your hand. So I think for him, I told him patience, keep clean, finish the races, and just, you know, I told him brick by brick. You know.
I think he's certainly capable of that. He's got the personality. He was reason and smiles after that race. I talked to him after that 16 just to bring the car home in one piece and to get that finish. And so we got a few questions here that we'll ask from the people. Ask the people to send in some questions. And so the first one I like to bring up here is Colin Spell asked, what would you say is the most difficult thing about being a co-owner or just an owner in general in the O'Reilly series? If you had to pick one. There's a lot.
Underfunded. End of story. Underfunded. That's the biggest question mark with, you know, these cars are not equal. Anybody thinks they're equal, they're, you know, you're on drugs. You know, you can't compare us to an RCR car. You can't compare us to a junior, you know. And I applaud those guys. They've earned the right to be there. They got the money. They have the resources. But we're so old school. We're still measuring off the ground, you know, on our setup plates. So the biggest hurdle always is going to be money. More money you have, the faster you're going to go.
Yeah, 100%. And then the second one I'll throw in here. This one's a little more humorous. I had to put it on here. Biggs Texas Butters said, when will the 4-car make another start? And then add in there, how do you get your hair so thick with a lot of steez?
Yeah, it's that thick. What I use, that paste, bro. I use the paste. I gotta dye my hair. So everybody gotta know that I dye my hair because I've been dyeing my hair since I was like 19 years old. All my family we have hair, but it's all white. So I think because I do it so dark, it looks actually thicker than what it is. In the long front, but definitely the hair paste, bro.
So the natural color. So the natural color is not black.
No, it's definitely. Well, that's my natural when I was young, but not now. It's just you see my beard, it turns gray. Yeah,
I guess something.
So,
like that, but
I'm not a young buck anymore.
I guess you can look the part though.
Yeah.
I know he said too when the 4 cars making the next start, or when Caesar Bacarella is making the next start. Is your goal still kind of the super speedways this year?
Yeah, but I might change up towards the end of the year. I might do some short track, and I might do some road courses. I don't know. It all depends how business is going. I'm so busy. That's number one, of course. To get in these cars, you have to be super focused. You can't go there. You're taking phone calls on Thursday. You're at the track taking phone calls, and then you got to get in the car. It doesn't work that way, So it depends. If everything works out, yeah, definitely they're going to see me a lot more. Next year is without a doubt. I know I'm going to go a lot heavier next year.
Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. We like to hear that. Send this guy to San Diego this year. We'll see what happens.
Let's go.
I know another talk of the garage has been, obviously, we saw this beautiful paint scheme this weekend, and then even for the race, we threw some dude wipes on there. But the back says dropping soon. We've been talking about, all right, with the muffins are going crazy. Now we're getting into the crispy treats. How soon are we looking for the rice treats drop for Alpha Prime here?
Well, Alfredo's gonna be driving the Prime Bites car at Toyota, so
really?
Yeah, he's gonna have the car's gonna be wrapped at Toyota, but it's gonna be closer to launch day. So I think what are we in February, March?
Yeah,
I think April 1st. Target is gonna get it first. It's the protein rice treat. It is so good. Everybody says everything's good. The brownies very good. The mini muffins are very good. This is like next level. Definitely healthier than both of the other ones we have, but it is like literally, tastes like the Rice Krispie treat. You know what I mean? Like I'm not supposed to say the name, but we're the healthy version of that, of that snack, that we created. But it's definitely, from everybody tried it. Wait till you guys try it. You'll see, bro. Masons will be walking around with those things.
I was gonna say I definitely need to try it just from the graphic alone. I'm like, man, that looks good.
I'm hungry right now.
But I was thinking in my head, I was like, man, as soon as they launch into Target, I'm gonna try to get some and stock up on some, especially since I've been telling RJ, I've been like trying to do better in the gym. I actually was at the gym before I hopped on the show.
There you go. There you go. That's
yes,
it,
sir.
That's
it. Yeah, definitely. Got to support not only support sponsors that support racing, but support our friends in the motorsports world and support you guys. So we're definitely I'm definitely gonna give it a try. I'll be sure to share with you when I got them in stock and in my house, and put it to work whenever I get back. Whenever I'm in the gym.
Yeah, we're gonna have some cool sponsors on my car. You guys are gonna be shocked when you see a few sponsors. We're finalizing the deals. So there's going to be some throwback sponsors going to be on the, because we're working with them and going into their stores. So it's not going to be the old cotton candy look, but it's going to be pretty cool. So, we thank all the everybody out there that buys it. That's, that helps, fuel the car and all that. You know how it goes.
Have I ever asked? I don't know if we've ever asked you on this show. Do you have a favorite flavor of your own?
Yeah. The brownie is going to be the Dubai, hands down. Dubai, yeah, it's limited. We usually sell out. We put out. I think we put in 5 and below. Sold out in 36 hours. 5 boxes every store. We go online. It sells out in like probably 36 hours. So it sells out. It's fire. I got to send you some. The muffins is got to be, I think, the chocolate chip.
Yeah, this
chocolate chip. And then the rice protein treat definitely the vanilla, then the strawberry, and then the chocolate. Wait till you taste it. This stuff is fire, bro.
You got different
Fire.
flavors. Okay.
It's
Because I know
gonna be
you
a lot.
had the
It's
original.
gonna turn her a lot of racing money. I'm telling you.
That's why you're doing the big schedule next year, because
That's it. You know.
the race treats are coming out.
Yes, sir.
You've been trying a lot of brownies lately.
Good. You gotta eat, bro. You gotta jack up. You know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Tanner, what's your favorite?
So I was gonna tell a story. My girlfriend, as of recently, she's a big gym goer, and she sent me a picture of her eating your Prime Bites, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh shit. Yeah,
and
nice.
I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you find out about that? And she's like, oh, I've seen it in Sheets, and they have them on TikTok Shop and all this and that. So I'm like, I somewhat kind of not really and familiar with that guy.
See, I know that. I know that guy. Hopefully, she liked it. You know.
She loved it. But talk about favorite flavor. I think chocolate chip for the muffin is definitely top tier.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for those Rice Krispie treats, dude. Those things.
Dude,
look
I'm
so
telling
good.
you right now. I've been saying it to everybody. It's like next level. I'm telling you, you do like the brownies. You have a little, you can taste a little bit of protein. The muffins, I think, a little bit less. But these rice treats, bro, they're straight up fire. Yeah. It's like
TikTok too.
No, bro, they're good, bro. I'm not saying to say it. I back it up, bro. You know.
Yeah, you backed it up. Well, we'll definitely find out. I was gonna say you guys been active on TikTok too. I'll be swiping through, and you guys will be like live Alpha Prime Bites.
Oh,
yeah. I swear with that, because your fiance obviously does some stuff with Prime Bites as well, right?
Yeah, she's actually the VP. She runs with them.
Okay,
She's
because I was
smart.
I'm scrolling through one day. I swear I saw her. I was like, oh wait.
You click on once, we're gonna hunt you down till you buy, bro. You know.
Damn right, already did. But man, I had another question too. I saw you sporting somewhat of a new look this weekend, and I'm glad Getty Images got a great picture. We have unlocked glasses, Caesar.
Okay, there we go.
We have unlocked glasses, Caesar. I think it's sharp.
Got the glass. Ah, damn, bro. Okay. At least the hair, bro. My hair always comes out like, dude. I'm like, I look like that. I get disappointed, you know. That's the glasses. Yeah, I know. So, very, very low prescription, but you know.
You wear them in the car?
Actually, yeah, I did. I warmed the car, and it was very frustrating, by the way, because I'm like a virgin with glasses, bro. I don't know the tricks yet, So I go in there, I put them on, and I forgot to put this. Like, I bought some anti-fog. Damn, bro, you put that thing on, you're sitting in the garage, but like, woof, it's like I was in the steam room, So I'm trying to take them off, trying to do this. Then when you turn your van on for the blower, dude, I think it's like magic. It's just like totally defrost, takes them out. But you can't. I didn't want to practice because we're trying to do like quali runs, semi. So I didn't want to turn the power on. Then when I went to go qualify, I put like 7 layers of this anti-fog thing. I marinated it, and I was able to take my qualifying lap without the blower on, and it didn't fog up, Yeah.
Well, that's good. Glad you got that situated. Sure. And then I'll swing it over with Mason here and talk about some DGM stuff. DGM, obviously, you ran for Mario for a while, Caesar. And now the Florida team has an all Florida driver lineup, basically, for the majority of the season. We got Josh Williams over there back home where he should be, right? And now Mace Maggio has signed on for a handful of races. We'll get to Mason after, but Caesar first, how cool has it been to obviously see the continuity of DGM racing, but had you put any thought to the fact that they're literally just an all Florida team now, like all drivers, the team over there?
I love Mario. Mario's one of the hardest workers you're ever gonna see. Like right now he's definitely in the garage turning wrenches. He's very competitive. He puts the money into the cars. That's why I actually went there. He's not the guy that when you're trying to get a ride and it gives you junk. He puts his heart in it. You can see what Mason's qualifying run. He had I think it was probably, I don't know if it was Darty, but man, that thing was a rocket ship. That was a great qualifying. Impressed the shit out of everybody. Which is good. Unfortunately, the lap one, the bacho, because we got part of it too. I thought it was over. I'm like I was about to throw my headset. So, but I'm happy for Mason now. Driving better equipment. So I want to see what his other races look like. But I mean, Mason, you definitely had to feel good about yourself. I know the race is a race. Whatever shit happens, it's Daytona. But you had to feel good with that qualifying run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was telling RJ at one point in the weekend, after practice, I was just like, man, I'm like, I've never been more confident going into a speedway race in my entire career. I don't have too many on my resume, but I mean, I got out of the car and was really happy with it. Mario was like, "Hey, we're pretty good. Your feedback's accurate. We're just kind of playing around with some stuff and seeing, what works, what doesn't." So, and then after qualifying, I was really, really happy with that. That's same car we took to Talladega last year, and we had a top 20 qualifying effort. So,
Nice.
It's just all the way around. I'm very thankful for the opportunity that, Mario and that whole family. And that's the other thing that I absolutely love about partnering with Mario is it's a family effort. So that hits close to home for me, with me and, RJ knows me and my dad, we work pretty hands-on on this stuff together behind the scenes. So, that's it. That hits home to us. And then, on top of that, just having that opportunity and knowing, the heart and soul, like you said, is being put into it. And it's not just about, hey, we got a driver for this weekend. All right, it's covering the bills. It's like, no, we want to make sure that, and that's the thing that I respect about Mario is he wants to make sure that he has the right people around to make it worth everybody's while. So, it's definitely been a fun so far. Hopefully we can better our result than what we had at Daytona, but so far it's been pretty exciting to see, where we're at and where we can be, down the road.
Yeah, no, I heard it from a few people like before the race. They're like, "Hey, did you see Mason? He was walking around like a peacock after that, that qualifying run, bro. He was so proud." So, but no, yeah, bro. Now, put aside, I think Mario's team is definitely like you say, family, run team without a doubt. He has his wife, his daughters. But you go to his shop, the guy, dude, it's records or checkers for him. He wants the team to be good. He wants to perform. He's as a former racer, I sponsored him one time for a race, and then it got rained out, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But that's how much the love and the respect I had for him. Like he worked so hard. Like I was like, what, I'm gonna give you that boy, and that was a that boy. I sponsored for a race, and unfortunately, like I said, but that's the appreciation and like you say you have for him and how he runs the team. The guy is he's definitely he's a gentleman.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. The family over there certainly runs strong. And then real quick before we let you go, Caesar, I did want to ask you about, the big news, obviously, that came out recently with the organization. You guys have signed on Jussan Hamilton to the team.
Yes.
Yeah, what does that kind of bring to the organization as you guys seemingly kind of enter a next step here?
Well, we're trying to move forward. We're trying to get bigger. We're trying to, we want to be an affiliate team. There's, partners we're trying to get. And I think, Tommy took, he's helped his work, but I think San's experience that he has, he fits the role, from where he worked and what he's done in the past working for NASCAR. I think we're somebody that's going to help represent the team, and to make the connections, to help with, some of the business transactions to make the team better and support the team. Where Tommy, like, he's tired. He wants to kind of step down. He's going to be a spotter. That's what he wants to do. But have somebody that has that experience that, that could take the reins and move this thing forward a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. If there's one thing I've said about Tommy Joe, obviously I've known him for a handful selection of years, seeing the Martins Motorsports, seeing the Alpha Prime. That dude be taking on a lot. It's tiring that guy out, So I saw him tweet today, I believe it was, talking about, now he'll be able to enjoy it a little bit more at the racetrack, and I think that would be exciting for him.
Yeah. Awesome, yeah, that's so true. But no, we're excited. I'm so excited about him. And the guy, it was the first time I met him, and it's like impressed me from start to finish. And I called him when I left the track, and called him yesterday. The guy's so professional, and I think it's something we needed there to to help with the team in certain situations. sometimes when you're an owner and you're trying to make the move, the stress would kind of like, fog your, some of your decisions. Sometimes you need an innocent third person that is gonna, look at what's on the plate and make decisions.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I will certainly let you get back to practice here, to volleyball practice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate you joining very much live in the flesh. That's what we do here at the Motor Stardom Show. No matter where we're at, we're gonna make it happen and have some fun. So certainly looking forward to seeing you back at the racetrack, back in the race car.
And that's the last time I'm selling my seat. I'm telling you right now, I'm not giving it up ever again. It's a one and only, bro. That's it. So I paid my dues, and my boys like, that's it. You asked once, so never again. We're never gonna have this conversation again. That's it.
All right, perfect. And then when we go to Daytona in August, are you gonna be the one to dethrone Austin Hill?
No, bro. No, bro. We're gonna get one, bro. Watch. I'm telling you. You might think we're crazy, but we're peaking there. We're peaking. We're there at the end. Look at the 44. Yeah, I wish it was a 4, but we're getting there. Maybe Matt. I know Mason. We're not going to push me, but Mason, give me a little, little something to push. I'll push you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, shoot, we worked together the last time at Daytona, and when I was driving the 35 car. So I mean, we'll do it. I'm down. As long as I get a few prime bites and a cigar to celebrate, just for a little appreciation, if we can make something happen for you.
We'll load you up, bro. We're gonna load you up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna give you some of the right streaks too.
Yes, sir. Yeah. If I can't win, I want to see good people like you and Tommy Joe and the rest of the Alpha Prime crew win. So we're always trying to, I always say, if I can't win, I hope my friends do.
No, I'm the same way, bro. Like I wanted, hope you win one day. I celebrate anybody that that you're a true fan or what they go through, and that not just an acquaintance. And when they win, it feels good. That's why when I gave up my seat, I was more concerned about the car performing than just take the ride. There's a kind of a pride thing. You know what I mean? So when one of your boys, Mason wins a race, we're gonna be celebrating. So definitely.
If you guys all work together to get in front of the 21 car, then you're all good. Somebody's got to do it. They got to figure out a way. The team.
We got to probably jack his car in the middle of the night, something, and swap it out.
I'll take the blame on that.
Yeah, come on, bro. You know what I mean? We'll put you all. Put a mask on you. You put the goggles. Let's go. 007, jack that car.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Sounds like a plan, man. Well. Appreciate having you on here, man. Yep. Thanks for coming on, and we'll certainly talk to you soon, as always. You're a regular.
Have a good night. See you guys.
See you guys.
That was Cesar Bacarella live in the flesh here, eating the prime muffins here. And I got to say, the double chocolate or the chocolate brownie muffin, you know what I'm talking about, Tanner, the brown and pink one was my favorite. But I'm not going to lie. I tried this once. My second dive into the chocolate chip here. I'm a fan.
Oh yeah. Caesar knows what he's doing with them things, dude.
Caesar knows muff. That's
Caesar knows muff. Caesar knows protein.
Yeah. That guy knows how to put together a good muffin for sure. But real quick, while we stay on the I almost said it. While we stay on the O'Reilly subject here, I was going to say Xfinity. I'd like to give a soft launch to a new segment I want to do on here called "What Are We Doing?" Because I feel like I say that a lot. Like, what are we doing? So one of my biggest "What are we doing" moments. Obviously, the first one was the stack up on the restart at the beginning of the O'Reilly race. What are we doing? But we already talked about that one. But this is one that I've been looking into. It really pissed me off all Saturday night. Not because and let me clarify first, that's the final lap, but not because I don't want to see Austin Hill win. I don't care who wins, right? I cover the sport. I hope for great stories, but if somebody's going to beat dominance, I want to see them do it fairly. But one thing that I had already talked with Mason about, and Austin Hill even talked about in his own presser, was that people just haven't figured out how to beat him. And you look at the Cup Series and the package that they have, it takes more luck than skill. That's just known. All the drivers even say it, all the teams, the way the draft is, there's just not much you can do. You just got to hope you be up there at the end of the race. here in this racing, yes, there's crashes. You got to make it through. But it takes a lot of skill and a fast race car, obviously, but also teamwork. There's a lot of elements that go into making it to the front. There's a reason why Austin Hill, especially, but as well as his teammate Jesse Love, are always here at the front of these races. And this one wasn't as big of a moment example, but this is the one he noted in his presser where Junior Motorsports, as you can see here, before this, they were all lined up, actually. 88, Rajah Caruth, big shout out to him. Awesome race on Saturday night. I hate that they didn't get the finish that they deserved. But you see Carson Kvapil up there in the one, Allgaier behind him. About a lap before this, Sammy Smith was behind them, and that's Corey Day. You can even add a fifth JRM/HMS car in here. Sammy Smith dove to the bottom. That's all right. All right. So now we got, 4 HMS JRM cars behind him. You play this. Rajah made a great move to the inside. Carson couldn't quite get down there with him, unless he wanted to force the issue. But then you got Carson shoves Austin Hill right back up front. They go back to square run. Austin Hill wins the race. This one I don't see as horrible as I've looked at it more because, yes, they were ganged up behind him. Could they have made a better plan to get by him? Of course. But, people are talking about how points matter a lot. And so, Carson and just everybody was trying to get stage points and things like that and maybe not caring about the win as much of getting the lead. But anyways, the next clip that'll roll here was my biggest "what are we doing" moment. I was watching this on the Fan Zone Jumbotron in the on top of the Cup garages, to where you have William Sawalich here. Joe Gibbs Racing now gets up here. You even see Taylor Gray in the back, but obviously you got Carson Kvapil in between them. William Sawalich and Brandon Jones, teammates. Joe Gibbs Racing, they're lined up here. William Sawalich gets the run off the top. Hard to do in this car, right? Sets it up perfectly. Comes down off the exit. Hill even tries to block a tiny bit. Realizes, hey, this run's a little too big. We got, 50 or something to go here in the race. Sawalich gets side by side here. So I'm thinking, holy cow, where's the moment? You go back to here. If I'm Joe Gibbs Racing, if I'm the spotter here, this is the moment. Sawalich has made the move. He's trying to pass the impassable. You got to clear this 20 car. Here in the tri-oval, it happens exactly how they wanted to. Allgaier lost the momentum on the bottom because they were building it on the top. Sawalich goes down in a way where he can bring his teammate with him behind him. And Brandon Jones just doesn't go to the bottom. So it doesn't go to the bottom here, doesn't go there. They're still broken up on the bottom. Now Allgaier's starting to get a little run. So now it's like, okay, it's almost too late if you even wanted to try it. And then Brandon Jones came right up to the back bumper of that 21 car and just shoved him back out to the lead. So that was my first edition of what are we doing moments here in this race. Because I was like, what are we doing? And Austin Hill tested this in his post-race presser. Like I said just a moment ago, people, it seems like they maybe know in their head how to do it, how to get it done, but aren't quite able to execute here. So obviously my biggest rebound here for this information was Mason Maggio, but it seems like he's just died. So Tanner, I don't know how much you know about the dominance of Austin Hill here in the O'Reilly series. But long story short, these races take a lot more skill. Cup series don't as much. And unfortunately, they have just not been able to conquer this damn guy in the 21 car. He was able to win once again, but that was certainly my biggest what are we doing moment of the weekend. I'll have a logo and a graphic for that for everybody shortly, and hopefully we will debut it next week. Mason, do you have us?
I don't think he does. Oh,
he doesn't, but nonetheless, we watched the final lap of that O'Reilly race. It was Austin Hill who came away with the win. Justin Allgaier was in second. Ryan Sieg was in third. It ended up being, we got a lot of exciting last laps here. It wasn't as crazy as the truck and cup races, but like when we were watching it with Caesar here, Alpha Prime Racing car in second. And like I even said before, big respect to Justin Allgaier here, because again, I feel like in this situation, a lot of powerful powerhouse cars would have just left that 44 out to dry. Gives him a shove, but as you can see, he got a shove from behind him. Amazing save there by Brennan Poole there on the top. Allgaier is able to kind of stay up top, but then Jordan Anderson comes in there at the end gives him a big shove, and Austin Hill ends up getting propelled out to the victory there. But I would like to talk more about the Daytona 500 in its entirety. Obviously, we had a lot of fuel saving racing going on towards the middle of the race, which a lot of people didn't love, they didn't appreciate. But because we had that such long fuel saving racing, once we got to the end and they stopped fuel saving, once we got 10 to go, everyone's like, oh boy, now we can actually race. And you got about 30 something clean cars still out there in the lead lap trying to fight for position. And it ended up in a crash. We get a late race restart. And then we crash a bunch on the last lap and wad up a bunch of race cars. But obviously, like we talked about earlier and we went over the replay, Tyler Reddick was able to get the win. Just as from an excitement level, Tanner, how would you rank to, I don't know how many Daytona 500s you've been able to watch in the past, but how would you rank this one as far as excitement? Did you feel like the hype was certainly there before the race, during the race? Obviously, you saw Bart Simpson wave the green flag. I don't know what's more hype than that. But where would you kind of rank this maybe in Daytona 500 you've seen? And do you remember a Daytona 500 off the top of your head that you feel was more exciting?
I think leading up to it, there was a lot more on my socials about it than any other year I've seen. There was a lot of lead up to it. And I want to thank NASCAR for not waving the yellow and calling a caution on that final lap. And Tyler Reddick pull-out win kind of reminded me and gave me flashbacks to Homestead when he came over Blaney and won it, and almost not really the same manner, but in a way where he kind of shot out of a rocket out of nowhere and won it all. So I thought the race was cool. Bubba Wallace did well. He was leading for a while. Still no Kyle Busch win. I don't know when we're gonna get that. Only one of the drivers I picked to finish in the top 10 actually finished in the top 10, just barely, and it was Joey Logano. But I liked it a lot. I thought it was really entertaining. I thought it was good.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, another year doesn't get the press was there. They had First Things First, the show with Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, I believe you pronounce it. I forget who their third host is, but they were there, put on some great shows, great interview. Didn't know Nick Wright knew wheel, or at least made a good job at seeming like he knew wheel on that show, asking the drivers questions. But yeah, no Daytona 500 win for Kyle Busch. It looked so unlikely after he won the pole. It was great that he won the pole, but then you look at the recent statistics, or just in general of pole winners that have won the Daytona 500, and it has not happened very recently. Very hard to do because of how much a toss-up the race is. So will it come eventually? We'll see. But I think there is still optimism for the number 8 camp. He actually played it. I might as well get into this before we roll on further. But actually, very smart. He backs out of the pack. And the spotter comes in the radio and says, "You got a fuel?" And Kyle says,
"No, what the fuck am I going to rush to the wreck for? We're running fucking 30.
So people may view that as classic Kyle Busch, which it is.
It is, yes. Yeah.
It is. But that actually ended up being Kyle Busch's gateway to a, whatchamacallit, 15th place finish. When they were back there way in the pack. So honestly, to be able to see that as Maggio's come back from the death here. But Kyle Busch actually did a really smart move there. And what it kind of raises the question of, or the question was, I should say, how important are drivers going to treat this points racing now that we no longer have the playoffs where it's just winning you're in and all this stuff? It's really a season-long, point standings, but more specifically for the 26 regular season races. So Kyle Busch drops out of the pack saying, why sit here in 29th and likely get caught in a wreck when I could just lay back here, keep the car clean, and drive by all the wrecked cars on the last lap? And that's exactly what he did. Finish 15th, and they probably, net gain 10 to 15 points in that situation there in the final lap. So technically a very smart move, but we might see drivers doing more of that. definitely in the future. We've talked about a few things since the aliens got you, Mason, but what can you attest, at least as a driver on your end? Obviously, you you personally haven't run a full season yet, but in a driver's standpoint, do you think that's kind of a more of a trend we're going to see? Is a thing like Kyle Busch where he just lays back, kind of takes the points because that does matter now? And is it refreshing that we have that?
I'd say honestly, I mean, we're gonna try to go for the win if we can, right? But I think if when it comes down to the wire and you're getting to that point where it's like, all right, we've got to make the chase with a couple races left in the regular season, I think you're gonna start seeing guys looking at stage points, more crucial. Because obviously, like that's something that we need to take into account, right? Is when we had the chase format, we didn't have stage points. So I think it's going to play. Stage points are going to play a bigger role in the outcomes for who's going to be in the chase, who won't. And I think too, like it's consistency is going to be a huge part of it. We talked about it last year a little bit, but obviously, when the win in your in system, you could go win a race and then crash out the next 4 to 5 weeks, but you're still in, right? So I feel like consistency and making sure that you're as a team, you're keeping your head down and you're thinking bigger picture. When we get to that point where we're closing in on the chase stretch, I feel like it's going to matter more than ever. So you're going to see teams thinking bigger picture whenever that time comes. But with this part of the season, everybody's just trying to get what they can, win races. But as far as on Kyle Busch's end, he gets it, right. He's won a race in the chase format, or a championship. I'm sorry, in the chase format. So we got to take that into account too. That's just veteran experience coming into play, especially for the plate tracks. There's a risk versus reward thing. But as a race car driver, I don't want to think that way if I don't have to. I mean, it's like what Andy J was said a couple of years ago. I'm not lifting until I see God or a check flag, right? But at the end of the day, when that time does come, I think teams are going to take it into consideration way more than they have in the last decade. So it'll be interesting to see that whenever we get to that time crunch and we see where the points are going to stack up after the first couple months of the year. And really just it's going to dictate a lot moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll certainly see how the races play out. I think it'll certainly be a little differently. And now points matter. We're looking at the point standings to start this year. And after these 2, and we just say 3 weekends, because obviously we have Atlanta coming up, another super speedway hybrid, we'll call it. And then we go to Coda, a road course, right? So things are going to be a little bit shaken up there. It's going to be interesting looking at the point standings after that, going into races like Las Vegas, Phoenix, Martinsville, Bristol, all the more so normal racetracks after we start the season. These first 3 races, a little bit wicked on the schedule. So we got Atlanta coming up this weekend. The fans will certainly stay entertained because we're going to get that super speedway racing. But my favorite thing about Atlanta and what it's turned into is, once you let go of the past and what we've lost and realize it's not coming back, the Atlanta, mile and a half that we knew it was before, this racing is, I think it's awesome. Like, do we wish it was done to Texas instead? Of course. Screw that track. It sucks. But it has gotten better over the years, I will say, as it's aged. But Atlanta, I think the track that it is, being a hybrid super speedway, changing each year, it seems like just little bits, as the drivers have said, I think is created for some really fun racing. It was built for the Cup Series package. So the Cup Series are obviously putting on the best races there. The Truck Series do as well. I was watching was watching a good chunk of the race here right before the show that they had last year. Seems like people just aren't as confident in their moves, so you don't see as much diciness in the truck race. But the Xfinity race is really interesting because, even just like on Daytona and Talladega, it seems like you guys really have to set up your moves. And as we were talking about last night, obviously you didn't have the funnest race there last year. But I would assume you're hopefully going to have a funner time this year. But from what you've been able to experience at the Atlanta track going into the race this weekend, what do you feel makes it so challenging even when you start the weekend with that one qualifying lap on a track that you have not ran a lap on since whenever your last race there was?
I feel like aerodynamics play a huge role in it. It kind of reminds me of like a miniature Daytona, where it's like we were talking about, right? With I think at the racetrack, we were talking about it. How like Daytona is definitely tougher than a Talladega, right? Because of how wide the track is. Atlanta is kind of similar in a sense to how Daytona is. It's tight, it's compact. The air is going to really move these cars around, and I think that's why you see it become such a fan favorite, is because it really brings the packs together. And it's trying to figure out like how these teams are going to get their cars under control in that dirty air, right? So I feel like that's where it's really come into play. And like you said, it's like its own hybrid version. Like it's not a plate race, but at the same time, it's not a mile and a half race. Like you kind of get that happy medium. So, um, Atlanta, as far as the way the racing is, it's going to play out. But, I think we need to talk about, how quickly the surface is starting to change more and more and more. Handling is becoming a factor more every single year, and making sure that your car is going to drive good, over the bumps and over the rough conditions. Because, I mean, you got to think those Georgia summers, they're hot, and that's just wearing away at the asphalt, creating it to age. It's gotten dustier over the last couple of years compared to the new pavement. I mean, I compared to when it was first repaved, it was nice and dark, and only a couple of years later, it's becoming gravel essentially. So it's a pretty slick racetrack. So you're going to see a lot of different factors with the age in the racetrack, the handling of the cars, and I think it's like we talked about with the chase format. I think strategy is going to come into play for sure for a lot of these guys on when to go, when not, when to grab stage points, when to just kind of think bigger picture. And yeah, Atlanta's different in its own unique way. Like I feel like I can speak on a lot of guys in the garage area when I say I don't know how to exactly describe it because it's so unique in its own way, but you kind of get a mix of so many different worlds and so many different changes each year with the racetrack. So obviously, like you said, Atlanta's been very, very exciting with the Cup package. It's almost perfect for the Cup package. And then obviously, Craftsman Truck Series, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, they put on great shows. Been fortunate enough to be a part of a couple of them over the last couple of years. So, super excited to see what the weekend holds. And obviously, I'm sure we'll have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about next week whenever we get the ball rolling from there.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go into some Cup Series race picks here. We'll go around real quick before we end off. Tanner, I'll start with you. Who you got this weekend at Atlanta Super Speedway? Or sorry, Echo Park something. Yeah. Peel.
I would like to see a better showing out of Christopher Bell and Ryan Blaney this weekend. But honestly, I want to say Logano, probably. I think Logano got it this week.
I like it. Yeah, the Ford's been good there. I was watching the Cup race this morning at Atlanta from last year, and Austin Cindric led a good chunk of the first part of that race. The Fords were very strong, so I could certainly see them being a contender. Mason, how about yourself?
I think I'm going to keep it in the Ford camp. I've kind of got a toss-up between Blaney and probably one or two guys from the Front Row Motorsports camp. I feel like they were overshadowed, the Front Row Motorsports cars, and as far as on the Cup side, Zane Smith was in a great position there at the end of the race, had a shot to win it. Todd Gilliland was towards the front of the field for most of the day, was in the mix. So I feel like we got to keep those guys into consideration too for these plate races. Obviously, they've won Talladega, a handful of years ago. I could see them being a factor, and I feel like they're a factor at Atlanta as well. So I think we need to consider those guys as well. But Blaney's one. I think Blaney's one on the newer configuration, if I remember correctly. If not, I might be mistaken it with the old one. But I think Blaney. I honestly think Blaney is one of the best super speedway racers that we have in our time frame. he's just been super solid at Talladega, has been super solid at Daytona, has won races, and is always a force to be reckoned with there at the end of a lot of these big drafting races. So it's really a toss-up for me, either between Blaney or one of the front row motorsports cars.
Yeah, I like that for sure. I think one of my observations from this race has been, again, we don't know. I think it's cool having a mystery. We don't know how this race is going to handle. We don't know how different. It's been a little bit of a colder winter here for everybody. So we'll see the track temps. I know it's supposed to be pretty chilly this upcoming weekend up there, but we'll see how that affects things. The track's changing every year, but I've noticed, that the track takes a lot of handling. So cars that are handling well for the race, but also fast, I think will certainly be the top contenders like any race. So I'm going to go out of the Ford camp to be different here. I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. I think I'm going to ride the momentum here. I think even if it doesn't come in Atlanta, I think he wins this year. I think Jim Pullman has proved himself to be too good of a crew chief to let this partnership completely fail, right? I'm sure they feel like, hey, sky's the limit, right, to be optimistic. But even Kyle's admitted himself, there's only so many things you can do in the RCR car, right, compared to the resources he had at Joe Gibbs, compared to the resources people have at Hendrick Motorsports and Penske. So, but I do believe they're going to get the most out of that partnership. I think them having such a fast car for not 1 but 2 rounds of qualifying at Daytona really show, I think, how good they could possibly be this weekend at Atlanta. I think they definitely make the top 10 in qualifying. I think they challenge for another pole. And I think just with the difference between Daytona and Atlanta, if you get the track position, it's going to be a lot better for you at Atlanta. So honestly, it's a long race. A lot of things that have to happen. He's got to stay up front, but I think the 8 car qualifies up front, and I think he's my pick to win the race at Atlanta. But I do like your mention of Front Row Motorsports. I loved how good Zane Smith was in the Daytona 500. Just to begin, I loved how good they've qualified there with Michael McDowell in years past. Todd Gilliland started the race up front and has been, in the running in these Atlanta races. So I do like the mention of Front Row Motorsports. I definitely like them as somebody that can make something happen. But my race pick is Kyle Busch. I think he gets it done this week.
Still got it.
Yep. That guy on Door Bumper Clear could finally get what he's been wanting to. Like one guy that called into the show and told him his wife.
One guy. I swear it's been multiple. It's been multiple Kyle Busch fans that have been like, man, we've been missing it. Not just the wins, but just the success at home. If we don't need to get into details, but that's for you guys to do your own research on. But yeah, I think I'd be more happy for the Kyle Busch fans at home that are going through a lot right now if he were to win a race this year. But I agree with you, RJ. I do think whether it's Atlanta or not, I do think he gets a win at some point this year. It's they've been knocking on the door. I know it's been rough, but like you said, with the playoff format, consistency is going to be key. The more consistent you are, the more opportunities you have knocking on the door of a win.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been a wild off season. Glad we got our first weekend of the books here. Daytona week was awesome. Like I said, an absolute stonks week for myself and for Motor Stardom, definitely. And I think the most exciting part now after this is I'll be on the grounds at Atlanta, get right back to the racetrack. It's really fun being able to tell people, hey, see you next week. A lot of the times I plan, I got weekends here and there, and I got to say, oh yeah, I'll be, in a few months, I'll see you. But got to tell people I'll see you next week. So I'll be in Atlanta, I'll be in St. Pete the weekend after that. Doing Monster Jam that same weekend. It's going to be an awesome 3 weeks. Please stay tuned on the Motor Stardom channel on Instagram and TikTok and here on YouTube for the live shows and the live content. I got a lot of stuff coming for you guys. Daytona week was awesome. So thanks everybody for the support. Looking forward to getting on the grounds there at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Park Speedway here in just a few days. So this was the first official episode of the Motor Stardom Show. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Cheap Show Farm says, does Brexton win? Brexton's wins not count. He's winning a lot, actually. But no, it's not Kyle. Kyle wants to get that win for himself. He's still a competitor. But thanks to everybody in the chat for supporting. Thanks to Matthew Duncan, Studio Farm, Seamus, always Checkered Flag Dan, and everybody else who's been in here tonight watching the show. 2 hours long. We had Andy J. We had Steven Toronto. We had Caesar Bacarella, Tanner Papella, and Mason Maggio.
and RJ Starsky here, hosting it for you, bringing it all to you. See you in Atlanta. We're going to have a lot to talk about. It's going to be some awesome racing this weekend, a triple header at one of the most thrilling tracks on the schedule. We're excited to get there. We'll see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Motor Stardom Show. See ya in 6 months. Shout out Amir Alexander.